This week on Across the Arrowverse, hey, that's not Grant Gustin. It's the Justice League. Hi everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host Matthew Vose, and I'm joined by Catherine Kay.
Hey everybody.
This week we're discussing the film Justice League. The Arrowverse is on its mid-season break, so we are going to be looking at some other DC properties and talking about wider comic book movies. Justice League came out about a month ago now, and we went to see it opening weekend. There's been articles and tweets about it, so you might know some of our thoughts, but Catherine, to kick us off, what did you think about Justice League?
I thought it was a lot of silly fun, basically. I've just been reading some of the reviews just to refresh my memory of the film and just of get my feelings back in order. And I now feel very defensive of the movie.
Oh, really?
Because
Why so?
Well, a lot of the reviews have been totally slating it. And actually, I came out of that film just feeling happy and that I'd had a really, really good time watching it. So I guess perhaps the critics are coming at it from a different perspective to me.
Yeah, I think most people watching this would have been thinking about it. How does it compare to Marvel? This is Marvel's version of the Avengers, so how does it shape up against that? Well, not as good. The groundwork that they laid in the same way that Marvel laid 5 or 6 films beforehand, not as good. Those films were not as good. Batman vs Superman is
dire,
not good for part of it. We don't like some of the characters, where generally we at least liked everyone in the early MCU, even if the first Captain America film's average, the first Thor is dull as anything. They're not bad. Yeah, Man of Steel and Batman Superman have bad stuff going on.
Yeah.
And Wonder Woman almost felt like a fluke by comparison.
I loved Wonder Woman, but yes, it felt like it was coming from a completely different stable.
Yeah.
Basically.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I was a little concerned about whether they'd ruin Wonder Woman by putting her together with Henry Cavill's Superman, which, to be fair, yawn, and Amy Adams' Lois Lane, who, quite frankly, for me, is a disappointment of a feminist icon.
Yeah. I feel like our mental state isn't the right phrase, but our headspace going into this might have actually helped us, because I had tempered my expectations for this. I knew the background stuff with Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder. I knew that the other films weren't as good, so I was worried about this. So I was going in expecting to be, well, okay, at least it's, Batman on film again. At least I got that. And there's a lot in here that surpassed those low expectations very easily. And actually made me go, oh, there's some really good stuff in here. Yeah,
and I was there because you wanted to see it, and I thought, well, worst case scenario, it's a nice warm place for a nap if it's as dull as Batman versus Superman. But I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think the new additions did particularly well. I was worried about Aquaman because the trailer made him seem so funny in a sort of bro dude surfer way, which he is. But he was a better character than potentially could have been done. And Aquaman is not a great superhero. He fights bad guys under the sea.
Yeah, From his unnecessarily long introduction in Batman vs Superman, I was a little worried that he was all going to be heaving pecs and sort of floaty hair, and that there was not going to be very much more to him. But I enjoyed the character. I'd like to see a little more, with a little more depth to the character, but I imagine that's what's coming in his solo movie.
Yeah. Cyborg was good. Yeah, I really liked his relationship with Diana. I can't think that I've ever seen him, as in the comics or the animated versions, have a relationship with Diana on a friend level or anything like that. But actually it worked quite well. I felt there was not chemistry in a romantic way, but that is a pairing I'd be interested to see more of.
Well, I'd never really heard of Cyborg before
Right.
this, to be honest, so I don't have any experience of his previous iterations to compare to. But I liked the fact that his broodiness was kind of warranted.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really like films where we have broody characters who are just broody for the sake of it.
Yeah.
This lad kind of has a reason to have some emotional issues at the moment, but I also like the fact that despite all of the sort of trauma that he was going through, he didn't hate his dad.
No.
You know, he still loved his dad enough to go and rescue him, and I like the fact that he's still got a relationship with his dad, and I liked the way that Diana was able to sort of mentor him a bit. That was nice.
Yeah.
It's good. Again, something I'd like to see more of.
Yeah. Definitely there was more of his stuff cut because the trailers have shots of him playing football, him normally looking. So there was clearly some background stuff cut that they'd filmed for him. So it'd be interesting to see how they incorporate him in future.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm in two minds on whether that sort of stuff should have been cut or not. And I think in the overall, I mean, I would like to see it, but I can really understand why they cut it from the production that they released, because in a way, what the film did well for me was the character stuff and introducing us to these characters and introducing and letting us watch the building of relationships between characters.
Yep.
But on the other hand, that really meant that the overarching plot was almost a distraction. And the overarching plot itself, I think, was the weak point of the film.
It's incredibly thin. Steppenwolf is not really a great villain in general. He's just powerful.
Yeah. And what's his driving reason for doing anything? Oh, I'm powerful. I want to be more powerful. Let me dominate. For no apparent reason.
Yeah, because we didn't see enough of he's trying to rebuild his hellscape to understand what his hellscape was or what that got him.
This is a question, actually. This is something I have no idea about. When I was just reading through the synopsis just now, a number of them kept referring to Steppenwolf wanting to get power to get something over his nephew, who had a name I can't even remember. And I was like, well, I don't remember Steppenwolf's nephew even being mentioned in the film.
So, Steppenwolf is uncle to Darkseid, spelled Darkseid. Darkseid. Who is... this is really lazy, and I'm really sorry. He's Thanos for DC. I mean, he's not. It's very different, but he's hugely powerful, and everyone's heard of him, and everyone's scared of him.
Okay.
Yeah?
Fair enough.
It's a very much shorthand, and there is clearly a very long biography for him, and he does lots of evil, villainous things over time, and he keeps coming back, and again, very much like Thanos, where Thanos has some of his own driving motivations in both the MCU and the comics. Darkseid is also villainous.
Okay. Well, if Darkseid was supposed to be Steppenwolf's motivation in the film, they did a very good job of hiding it. Because when I was reading that synopsis, I was like, say what?
Well, in comparing this to Batman vs Superman, I'm pleased a lot of this stuff got cut, because the one of the big failings of Batman vs Superman is all the work it does in setting up Justice League. The nightmare vision of the winged creatures. You remember when Batman has that vision and it ends up with Superman killing him? He's in the desert and the world is post-apocalyptic.
I vaguely remember. I have mostly chosen to blank Batman vs Superman out of my mind.
When he has that vision, there is a giant symbol burned into the sand in front of him. It's Darkseid's symbol.
Oh,
so he starts seeing that something is coming with Darkseid. There's a whole sequence cut, even from Batman vs Superman, where Lex Luthor speaks to Steppenwolf, as I understand. And then there's all the stuff of the Flash coming back in time and them finding out who the metahumans are and so on. Batman vs Superman is trying to do a lot of heavy lifting for these films.
Yes.
Justice League is not. Justice League has gone, let's introduce the characters, let's have 2 or 3 big fights.
Yes.
And it works.
Yeah.
It's all character dialogue based. The plot is
it.
thin, the villain is thin, and the villain Steppenwolf is played by Kieran Hines, who's a terrific actor that we've seen on stage twice this year.
Yeah.
Unrecognisable and largely wasted in that role.
Yeah.
but yet the characters are funny, and the reactions to each other are good and earned, and it works. The way that Aquaman treats Bruce Wayne when he turns up, you can see it, you can believe it.
Yes.
I like all that.
I thought that the introductions of the characters and the different worlds they went to and stuff like that, it made me want to see more of those worlds.
Great.
I want to see more of Atlantis.
Yeah.
And what's going on there. And I like the way they hinted at a plot,
Yep.
but they didn't sort of ladle it on. It's just like, there is something to see here.
Yeah.
And moved away, leaving us the space to want more.
Yeah, the references, his conversation in Atlantis, and the references to his mother and his father and the throne of Atlantis and so on, were in service of this film, but were setting up something else in the future and giving us hints of it. So that's very Joss Whedon. That's the sort of work he does. So that's probably a bit of refilming he did. The last one to talk about, and of course this is an Arrowverse show, is The Flash, a new version of Barry Allen.
I was pleasantly surprised by The
Really?
Flash. Yeah. I had genuinely been gutted it wasn't going to be Grant Gustin. And then the film carried on, and oh my gosh, my loyalties are so split. Because I really like... Is it Ezra Miller?
Ezra Miller.
I really like him too. But they are very different Flashes.
Yes.
Very, very different.
Yeah.
And they each work very, very well in the vehicle that they're placed in. This was the right Flash for this movie.
Absolutely.
Both darker and lighter at the same time.
Yeah.
And yeah, really liked him.
Yeah. Even subtler hints at the wider Flash story, his mum and his dad in prison and so on. Or no, subtler hints about his mum, his dad less subtle. So he does visit his father in prison and sees Billy Crudup doing something a bit different than we've seen. Because whilst it was loving and trying to push him away, which is very much the story from the Flash show, there was more intensity there. It wasn't this is a nice prison, like we're used to in TV prisons. They had to do something different, I think, with the character.
Yeah.
And they've done it absolutely right.
Yeah.
Because the Flash is notoriously funny in the comics and particularly the cartoons, the animated stuff.
Okay.
He is a very funny character. Just as normally written, and I think that came across here. And the point at which Bruce Wayne's recruiting him, and he says, "Let me stop you there. I'm in.
Yeah.
I need friends." I was cracking up. It was so funny because I didn't expect anything that funny, and it's a great moment for the character. It's a surprising moment, but absolutely fits in and works.
Yeah, he's an enthusiastic, energetic puppy dog of a superhero.
Yeah.
You know, he's got the brains, he's got the intelligence, he's got absolutely no understanding of how to deal with normal day-to-day people. He's not had the Joe Allen to give him a nurturing upbringing. You can tell that he is foundering in the real world.
Yeah.
And actually the framework and the extraordinary gang, it feels like that's the first time he's actually felt at home and with a proper purpose.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah,
I really
it
liked
worked.
it. Yeah.
Yes. So those are our new superheroes that we're introduced to, and I do like the moment at the end where they were making the round table for the Justice League in Wayne Manor, and he says, "Oh, leaving space for future," so they can expand it to include a Green Lantern, a Green Arrow, an Atom, the stuff that we know. We had our traditional Trinity, somewhat split in this. The Trinity of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Obviously, Wonder Woman was coming into this off the back of a very successful film.
Yeah.
Batman, less so. And Superman was dead.
Yeah, I still think there's scope for Superman to have a bit of a PTSD Superman moment. You know, like, I don't think we've fully explored the ramifications of him being dead and being brought back from the dead.
Right.
Because he kind of went off and stood in a field and had a snog and then came back and saved the day from the weird-ass stuff that was going on in Steppenwolf's, hey, let's hellscape the world, cos. Because that's where everyone likes to live. You know? But, yes.
Yeah, everything with Superman, I think, is Joss Whedon.
Okay.
I mean, there's this famous thing that he was filming the new Mission Impossible film when Whedon was doing his reshoots. So Paramount, who owned Mission Impossible, didn't let him shave his beard or his moustache. So it's had to be digitally removed in Justice League. And I didn't spot it, but apparently there's a whole thing of you can see his lip moves in a very funny way fine. Henry Cavill tweeted a picture or Instagrammed a picture that was a black Superman suit or implied a black Superman suit. And some of the stuff from the trailers was a larger fight happening at the Superman Memorial. So I wonder if there was a plot of him coming back evil and in a black suit and so on. So no, what he is in the film is he comes back basically overpowered very quickly. The whole point of the fight at the Memorial is to establish that he and Batman are not friends yet, which fine, Batman ended up causing his death, so that's fine. Yeah. And to establish that he has super speed, that he can move as fast as the Flash.
Yes,
that's basically what that fight comes to. And then when he turns up at the end and finally takes on Steppenwolf, he's like, "Hey, is this guy giving you some trouble? Because I can kill him really easily." And he does. He just beats him down, and that's it. He then saves the day by pulling the mother boxes apart, and that is how I would imagine Joss Whedon always wanted to write Superman. And perhaps it's difficult because you couldn't sustain a whole film with him being that powerful.
It does actually lend a little bit of authenticity is possibly not the right word, but a little bit more plausibility to the overarching plot. That the only reason that Steppenwolf is like, yes, now's my time to do some redecorating of the Earth's landscape, is because Superman is no longer there, and he knew Superman could stop him, but hey, the weirdy monster that Lex Luthor created killed Superman, so now I can do my evil deeds. Yeah,
and even one of the trailers hinted at that. There was him giving a speech of Earth is unprotected, no Kryptonian, no lanterns. And that is apparently why the mother box is reactivated. That they know there is now no protector on Earth. And that was potentially why we didn't have a Green Lantern, because we had a Superman. Maybe. Who knows? And nice to be, this is a much wider universe. This is not just these 5 or 6 people. There are other things going on. That's exactly why Steppenwolf would come now. Yeah. Because he has a chance of doing the thing.
But presumably there were many, many years before Clark Kent landed on Earth where there was also no Superman. Or was there a Green Lantern at that point?
Potentially so.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because I don't think there's a Green Lantern movie on the slate at the moment. Because the Ryan Reynolds one was so bad.
But they did have people with Green Lanterns hanging around at the start.
Yeah.
So they clearly exist in this world.
Exactly.
Universe,
that's why I love the
comic verse.
Yeah, we know that this is a wide universe that has lots of stuff going on. We're just only seeing the Earth bit. Yeah. Whereas the MCU has been very much Earth-based, and even the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, it had to be a human going and doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's our superheroes. Lois Lane.
Bloody Lois Lane.
Wasn't in this much.
Good.
And it's difficult because they've basically lost us from Lois Lane, or lost her from us now, because she's been so bad in 2 films. But her moments in this actually were pretty good. Just I don't like her, so I'm going into them like, oh, just get her off my screen. But when I look back on her, I'm like, do you know, I can kind of see it. I can kind of respect what they've done here.
I suppose it's just that for me, growing up, Lois Lane was probably one of the earliest strong female characters I saw on screen. Yeah. And I very much enjoyed feisty, self-confident, powerful Lois Lane. Yeah. Possibly the image I've built up of that character in my mind is even more exaggerated than the way she was portrayed on screen. Right. So for me, having the Lois Lane that Amy Adams portrays appear in these films is somehow betraying the image of Lois Lane that I have in my imagination. Yeah. And that's probably very harsh on Amy Adams. Sorry, Amy. But yeah, I hate this version of Lois Lane. Right. I want her to be a little bit like Iris West is in the current Flash. Okay. Yeah, I want her to be confident. I want her to be stepping up. I want her to be
now that's a turnaround.
Yeah, no, I hated Iris initially. Well, I hated Iris when she wasn't allowed to do anything. Yeah. Other than, oh, I'm Iris. Yeah. Now they're actually...
Hey, I've been kidnapped.
Hey, I've been kidnapped. Yeah. Now that they're letting Iris actually fulfill the brief of being a confident leader and having to make decisions and choices, I like that version of Iris. Yeah. And that's the sort of character I want my Lois Lane to be.
Yeah. When you think of Margot Kidder from the original Superman movies. When you think of Terry Hatcher, and we don't have one on TV at the moment, but Cat Grant is effectively Lois Lane.
Yes.
The way she's portrayed. Cat Grant in the comics is a much more sexual creature.
Right.
Shall we say.
Yeah,
And almost slightly, she's one of the problematic things of comics, the way they dress her and make her do stuff. But the way she's portrayed by Calista Flockhart is very strong, very capable. She gives good speeches about feminist principles that fit into the world.
Yes.
She's not an idealist. She's making the best of where she is in her place.
And she has a sexuality and a sex, but she's an attractive lady, but she doesn't use that in her professional capacity.
Yeah.
Which is how life should be.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a shame that you have Amy Adams, who we're told is capable, but we actually never see it on screen.
No, she just constantly runs around damseling and doing silly things, and I don't know. I don't know.
She's constantly being kidnapped or putting herself in danger, and he has to then go and save her, and it's not interesting, and she's not getting anything out of those experiences.
And it's like, I get what you're saying about this film, because it is realistic almost that the grieving Lois Lane would find it very hard to function in the rest of her life. Mm-hmm. But that's not what I want to see. No. So
yeah. Do we need to touch on Batman and Wonder Woman at all? And Bruce Wayne and...
I don't think so. They kind of did what I expected them to do, and they did it well.
Yeah. They both stepped up as leaders, which was very nice.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne, having rewatched Batman vs Superman, is much less broody.
Right.
I like that he's got a touch of darkness and he's got a touch of sorrow over what's happened to Superman. He's determined to use this as a positive thing.
Yep.
And he's the one who comes up with the idea of bringing Superman back. He realises, yes, he went down the wrong path here.
I liked that I liked the way that the Bruce Wayne Batman in this was very aware of the fact that he was mortal and he was aging, and it was almost like, we need a next generation, or else I'm going to just leave a hole.
Yeah.
And I thought that was... I like that.
Mm. Yeah, he and Alfred make a very good combination.
Yes.
Yeah, Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons. I like that a lot. Yeah. We had J.K. Simmons in his first outing as Commissioner Gordon. Very briefly. I loved the moment of everyone disappearing on the rooftop. And the Flash going, oh, they've gone. Oh, sorry.
Yes, that was funny. That
very
was
neat.
Yeah.
We obviously had a bit of the Daily Planet crew, but not much of them. We saw the Amazonians a bit with their new armour that bared half their flesh.
Awful. Which
we can get rid of that. I think there's been such an outcry over that. I would be amazed if it happens again, except it keeps happening.
Yeah, I just like, why are we taking this step backwards?
Yeah. So I feel the need to call it out. As much as there were great things about this film that I liked, there are things like that just aren't necessary and are stupid.
Yep, agreed.
In general, good film. I enjoyed it.
Good film. Looking forward to seeing the next one.
Yeah. I'm hoping there's a good director's cut of this, and possibly even the Zack Snyder cut. I'm hoping we get a version that has all the stuff he filmed. And or at least incorporates it in some way, or gives us some outline of it. There are clearly two films going on here, and they've made one that is the Joss Whedon, very fun, good dialogue, good character interactions, and possibly there's a wider comic book one that obeys, in inverted commas, canon more. But I like there's so much content to it. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actively looking forward to seeing this again when it comes out for free on the various services that we subscribe to, whereas I would actively avoid seeing some of the other ones again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we'll be covering some other DC shows over the next few weeks. So if there's anything that you wanted us to talk about, to watch, if there's anything you want to recommend to us, feel free to drop us a note. You can use the hashtag ATAV on Twitter, or you can find each of us. I'm at Matthew Vose.
I'm at KendoCat.
And the show is at Eloquent Gushing. And if you want to help support us, please check out our Patreon page where you can get access to exclusive content from all our shows. Go to patreon.com/eloquentgushing and visit the homepage eloquentgushing.com to sign up for the weekly newsletter about the goings-on across all our shows. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you across the Arrowverse.
Across the Arrowverse is an Eloquent Gushing production. For more shows you'll love, please visit eloquentgushing.com.
Dog seared.
Dog seared.
Dog seared.
Dog seared.